Why don't we go to the cinema tonight?
That's a great idea. What's on?
Well, there's the new film with Schwarzenegger. That should be good.
You're joking, right?
No, I'm not. What would you suggest?
How about going to the disco?
The disco. Are you crazy, Alice? That's not even music. That's simply noise.
Come on, Peter. It's Saturday night. We have to do something special. Something exciting. And going dancing is surely more exciting than going to the cinema.
I agree with Alice. Let's go dancing.
What about a third choice?
I guess Anne is right. Why don't we try to find a good compromise?
Come on, guys. How boring and old-fashioned you are.
And you are more frivolous than I am, Alice.
Come on, guys. Don't argue now, please. Let's vote on it. Well, Alice and I want to go dancing. Peter and Anne don't. How about you, Sharon?
I don't know. Well, the disco is probably more entertaining than the cinema.
Great. Okay, guys. 3 against 2. Let's go dancing.
Hello and welcome back to English Today for some more English. Now, what would you prefer? Discotheque or cinema? Dancing or a film? Well, we're going to look at comparatives now. I have to buy a camera and I need to choose one. I have to make a choice, so I have to compare 2 different types. Here I have 2 types. Look, this one here and this one here. Now they're quite different. Listen to the language I use when I compare them, okay? Now, this camera is smaller than this one. This is really quite big. It's bigger than this. And it's also heavier, this camera, than this one. This is a light camera, so it's lighter than this model. Now this model looks more sophisticated and probably more artistic than this one. Whereas this one looks more practical, but maybe less complicated. What do you think? What else? Well, this is definitely more expensive than this one. This is probably cheaper, I think, because this has a big lens as well. So, I'm not sure. What do you think? I like the idea of a more sophisticated camera, but I think it's more expensive. So I think I'll have to go for the cheaper one, which is the digital one. I think I'll choose this. All right? Good. Now, let's go and have a look at the language and see how we formulate comparatives in English. All right? If you have a one-syllable word, you remember one-syllable words like cheap, small, hot, high, then to make the comparative, it's easy. We add ER to the adjective. So cheap becomes cheaper. Small becomes smaller. Hot becomes hotter. Notice we double the T. High becomes higher. So some examples are the new model is lighter than the old model, or London is safer than New York. Today is hotter than yesterday. All right, so those are adjectives with one syllable. But what happens if you have adjectives with 3 syllables or more? Look at the examples. Interesting is an adjective with 3 syllables. Interesting, no, 4 syllables. So it becomes more interesting. You see what happens? We put more in front of the adjective. So more interesting. Difficult. How many syllables? Difficult, difficult. Okay, so it becomes more difficult. Therefore, the example we have next is the new model is more practical. Or London is more expensive than Madrid, for example. This test is more difficult than the last test. So you see, how we formulate the comparative depends on the adjective that we use. If it's a 1-syllable adjective, we add er, cheaper. If it's 3 syllables or more, we add more in front of the adjective, like more difficult. Okay? Now, we are going to go back to that life where the girls are getting ready to go dancing. They use a lot of comparatives in the conversation. Listen carefully and try and recognize them. Okay? Great. See you next time. Bye.
Here's my party hat. How do you like it?
You look great. I envy you. Hats really suit you.
Well, I envy your room, Anne. But with all this traffic, how do you sleep?
Oh, I'm used to it.
Which disco are we going to?
Paradise. It's a new disco on King's Road. It's very nice.
Did Tom and you go there together?
Yes, we went last Saturday. We spent a nice night together.
Maybe I asked the wrong question. You don't like Tom, do you?
He's boring. Very boring. Besides, he's an Aries and he talks too much. Last night, for example, he showed me all the pictures of his holiday in the Alps. He talked for an hour about the mountains. But I hate the mountains.
Why do you say that? The mountains are beautiful and spectacular.
I prefer the beach. It's more relaxing and entertaining.
Oh, I don't know. I think the beach is more boring than the mountains.
Why do you say that?
Well, think about it. Lying on the beach every day, it's much more interesting to be walking in the countryside.
Yes. But it's usually colder in the mountains. I think the beach is also more romantic.
Girls, stop talking nonsense. How do I look?
You look very pretty, Alice.
Thanks, Sharon, but you look better than me.
No, how can you say that? You're much more tan than I am.
Yes, but you are in better shape.
And me? How do I look?
You are very pretty too, Anne.
I'm sure I'm not nearly as beautiful as you.
Come on, guys. Stop making stupid comparisons. Let's just say that we're all different.
Hey, girls. Okay, are you ready? I need your advice. Which shirt is better according to you?
The red one, it's much better than the blue one for a disco night.
And you, Sharon? What do you think?
Well, I think the red one is funnier, while the blue one is more professional. I prefer the blue one.
So, girls, which shirt should I put on?
I told you, the red one. With that one on, you'll look more macho. Yes, macho. That's the right word.
Really? Macho? I like it. Okay, I'll put on the red shirt. Do you agree with Alice, Sharon, about being macho, I mean?
Come on, Jack. It's late. The disco's waiting for us.
Hello again and welcome back. I want to continue talking about comparatives in this lesson because last time we talked about how we compare with adjectives with 1 syllable and 3 syllables and more. Remember, we said hotter than, but more difficult than. So what happens if we have adjectives with only 2 syllables? For example, like heavy or easy. Well, we say heavier and easier, but the spelling changes. And that's what I want to show you on the screen now, because the Y at the end of easy and heavy disappears. Look. Happy is an example with an adjective with 2 syllables ending in Y. Happy becomes happier. Take out the Y, put in I-E-R, okay? Then funny, funnier, and easy, as we said before, easier. Heavy again, another example, heavier. Okay, so be careful. Remember that the Y becomes an I. Some examples. I'm happier than you. His joke was funnier than mine. English is easier than Russian. All right? So that's important to remember. But that's not all. There are some real exceptions, as always, in the English language, also in the comparative form. And that's what I want to look at with you now. It's very important. The question is, what is the comparative of good? The comparative is completely different. It's better. So you would say, this camera is better than that camera. All right, so good becomes better. What about bad? Again, it's completely different. Bad becomes worse. Today's weather is worse than yesterday's, okay? Bad, worse. And one more example, far, which means distance, far becomes further or even farther. Both possibilities, farther written F-A-R-T-H-E-R, as you can see on the screen. All right, so those are the big exceptions. Good becomes better. Bad becomes worse. Far becomes farther or further. You choose. Examples, walking is better than running. Today, the weather is worse than yesterday. And Southampton is further than Brighton. All right? So those are all the most important things that you need to know when you're comparing things. Don't forget the exceptions. They're very, very common and easy to forget. All right? Great. So I'll see you next lesson where no doubt you will be speaking English better. Okay? See you then. Bye.